2021 has barely started, yet we are greeted with the death of a young woman who was celebrating the new year with her friends. The investigation to the death of flight attendant Christine Dacera is bringing more questions than answers. At least 3 people are already in police custody, but what are the circumstances surrounding the death of Christine Dacera? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of The Chiefs. And of course, with us are Lucy Cruz Valdez, the head of News 5. Hi, Bossing.
Hi, Ed.
And of course, we have
Hello.
Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star from the port area in Manila, who should be coming online in a while. And joining us later will be Robbie Lampay of One News. Well, the weekend's almost upon us.
You wish.
We're almost midweek anyway. Well, anyway, what are the big stories today? Of course, aside from last night, the president's message last night addressed to Congress to not investigate his people.
Huwag nang panghimasukan ang nangyayaring pagtuturok ng bakuna sa PSG. And I think there's medyo may konting angas yung dalawa, no?
Yeah, this is going to be a point of discussion for quite a while.
Oo, no? At saka, ipapatawag yung PSG, di ba? Yun ang, sabi ng Senate, sige, huwag na ipatawag. Pero in a way, di ba? Parang,
so, ano sila? Bumigay sila. Ami there.
Sabi naman ni Tito Sen sabi naman ni Tito Sen, wala naman daw siyang balak ipatawag talaga yung PSG. So anyway, tutuloy nila yung itutuloy naman daw nila yung ang customs, itutuloy din, Department of Justice. Ang umurong lang yung Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Yung AFP.
So
who were supposed to be investigating their own men.
Oo. At saka sabi ng Malacanang, handang-handa na daw sanang humarap doon si General Durante sa AFP probe. So, ewan natin, hindi natuloy Sayang, ano?
Pero in a way, umurong din yung FDA nung sinabi na mag-grant sila ng compassionate, ano ba yan? Use authority or something, no?
Na September pa nangyari yun, ano yun?
I know, pero the fact that they would even grant compassionate use authority or whatever to the soldiers, to me, is like, what's so compassionate about it?
Hindi September pa yun, matagal-tagal na yun
Yeah, and besides, the process is moving naman I mean, there are processes in place for the approval of these vaccines. It's not like these vaccines are banned. And in other ways, yung compassionate use is for very, very strictly regulated or banned medicines.
Right. Kaya nga, so in a way, di ba, by saying that, they're saying pwede na rin, di ba? If they had applied, pwede, di ba? Parang may ganon so, anyway, it remains to be seen.
Natatakot lalo yung mga tao dyan sa only because of the secrecy kasi ginagamit na naman actually yung vaccine sa China. And then in other countries.
Tsaka yung suspecha, yung mga POGO workers, binakunahan na rin, di ba?
Well, sabi ni Tessie Angsi, 100,000 POGO workers had been vaccinated since September.
Yeah.
Wala namang problema. Ang problema lang bakit na ipapasok? Yun lang naman ang tanong doon
Yeah, yung smuggling angle.
Yun naman daw investigahan ng customs.
Okay, and we have a full house. Robbie Lampay is now joining us from Reliance Street in Quezon, in Mandaluyong City. Sorry.
Mga interesting yung topic. Pinag-uusapan na lahat yung topic natin ngayon.
Okay, I smell the segue coming in. Okay, well, we introduced this segment or we introduced this episode with the death of the flight attendant, si Christine Dacera. However, before we go into that, we will be talking about a topic that has relation to our episode last night when we had 2 other LGU chief executives with us on the show. So tonight we are joined by Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte, also to talk about the planned vaccination in her jurisdiction. So joining us is Mayor Joy Belmonte. Mayor, good evening and thank you for joining us and welcome to the Chiefs.
Good evening, Mayor Joy.
Good evening, Chi, I mean Robbie and Ed. Good evening po sa
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year po.
Happy New Year po.
Happy New
Well,
Year
as you,
po.
ma'am, as you probably heard, last night, nag-guest dito sa amin, si Mayor Binay at si Mayor Toby Chao, and we talked about yung among other things, yung kanilang preference ng kanilang LGU as to what brand or what kind of vaccine to use in their local vaccinations. We also understand that the Quezon City is already finalizing talks for 750,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines for Quezon City residents. May we know, ma'am, if what Quezon City's preference is with regard to the vaccine brand?
Well, in Quezon City, as you probably already know, no, the local governments were given permission by the national government to enter into negotiations with any of four or even more different pharmaceuticals, no? And then these, of course, will be part of a tripartite agreement with the national government. So hindi naman po tayo pwedeng humiwalay sa national government. No? In the case of Quezon City, we have been in touch with various pharmaceuticals, but have been intensely negotiating with AstraZeneca. And in fact, it's AstraZeneca that tonight we have signed a tripartite agreement with already, together with the national government and pharmaceutical for 750,000 doses, good for 350,000, or rather 375,000 individuals.
AstraZeneca is the cheapest, I understand, the cheapest vaccine at $3 or $4 per dose.
Well, this was in a sense, this was my preference precisely because it is affordable, because it has been approved in the United Kingdom and in India and I think other countries as well. And so far, no side effects have been recorded. And also, I do like the fact that they really put down their prices because they told us that their market is really the developing countries, because they really did want to give opportunities to poorer countries to avail of the vaccine as well. And also their demands are much less. In terms of cold storage, for example, it's only +2 to +8 degrees, which is different from other brands.
Temperature.
Yeah, temperature. So given these factors, we did decide to go with them.
Ma'am, did the preference or fears of your constituents also factor into your choice for AstraZeneca, or was it purely the price and the access and the technology and the accreditation and everything that you mentioned?
Well, Robbie, my perspective is that while people are in a sense hesitant with regards to vaccines given the past experience with the Invaxa, I did not believe that it was proper for us to do a survey without having actually educated the public about the importance of vaccination. No? I didn't want their biases to inform their decision. So therefore, I think that it is my duty as a leader to first educate the people about the importance of vaccines, what they can do, why we need them, how they can help us in the recovery of our economy, and how they can help improve our health and bring us back to normal life. No? And we have been doing that for the past few months via various webinars and other IEC campaigns. No? And I believe that it is after we have fully informed our public, then we can go to them and say, oh, are you interested or not? But having said that also, I do believe that we have to make an extra effort to convince the public. Because as you know, vaccines per se have no effect if no herd immunity is achieved. If we do not reach that 80% or 70% that they say is necessary for herd immunity, we are just wasting taxpayers' money by vaccinating randomly individuals without reaching that particular target. So I do believe that it is our duty, it is incumbent upon us to convince the public, provided that the vaccines we are offering them have gone through the protocols and have been approved and declared having to be safe and have good efficacy. And I think Astra has done that. While they have not yet been approved here in the FDA, they have submitted all of their documentation, and I was told that in about 21 days they should be approved already by the FDA of the Philippines.
Mayor,
So
in your
how
initial
did the-
consultations, are you sensing a lot of vaccine hesitancy? Because Okta Research came out with a survey, the results came out today, na only 25% now of residents in Metro Manila at this point are willing to be vaccinated. are you also getting the same sense of hesitancy in Quezon City? It's the biggest in Metro Manila, and I think hindi naman siguro the country, but it's the biggest in Metro Manila.
Well, it is the most populated in the country. That is true. And well, I cannot say for certain because I have not undertaken any scientific survey yet. Puro hearsay, puro pulso ng masa, etc. So yes, to some extent there is some hesitancy. On the other hand, there is some excitement as well from other sectors. So hindi naman puros pangangamba lang, no? Pero ito yung napansin ko sa mga nangangamba sila sa Chinese vaccines, no? So as you know, the local governments have budgeted for vaccines as a way to help the national government in its vaccination campaign. Hindi naman po umaasa lahat ng taong bayan sa mga local government. Some do not even have a budget and are depending entirely on the national government, no? So we are receiving free vaccines from the national government, and we thought it a good gesture to also help out, no? That's why we are given this option to choose the vaccine that we prefer, no? But yung pinibigay sa atin ng national government, wala po tayong choice dyan, no? Now, if it so happens that it's a Chinese vaccine na ibigay po sa atin, we have to do our part to convince the people that ito yung kailangan natin tanggapin, no? And we just have to well, of course, me as a leader, I have to be able to be convinced that all the protocols have been followed, the transparency has been practiced, and the vaccine has been approved because it is safe and effective in addressing COVID-19.
In your tripartite negotiations, what has been the reaction from the manufacturer side? Do they have enough? Have they set aside enough number of vaccines for a country like the Philippines? I mean, it's the 750,000 already committed, or just a portion of that. And to achieve herd immunity, kasi with a population of almost 3 million, you would need to vaccinate so many more than 270,000, right? So what's the plan?
2.1 million.
Yeah, actually, the city is so big that to achieve a herd immunity, meaning vaccinating about 80%, that we would have to vaccinate about 2.6 million people. So that's really a lot of people. It's really a daunting task, And the thing about it is, well, we budgeted in our 2022 budget out 1 billion for this. Although the amount can change depending on the need, because the 1 billion is not just for vaccines, but also includes all of the consumables and other supplies needed to administer these vaccines to our constituents. No? But having said that, we did write several pharmaceuticals. Astra was one of those that responded, but again, we did not have the power to leverage what numbers we wanted. We just had to accept what could be given to us. And in this stage, what was available was the amount that I already mentioned, which was 750,000 doses. The rest have been committed, and now other LGUs are interested to negotiate with Astra, and they will have to wait until 2022, I think, or even later in that year. Yeah, so ganyan ka-in demand ang lahat ng vaccines tingin ko. No? So aside from Astra, we are in touch with other pharmaceuticals because we have to procure more to be able to vaccinate at least 80% of our population.
Ma'am, yung availability po ng AstraZeneca vaccines na pag-usapan po ninyo, will that be available by the first half of this year or by the latter half of the year?
Well, I think that because we belong to a second batch that have registered our intent to reserve, I think that we will probably get the vaccines probably in the middle part of the year, probably in the third quarter. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Balikan ko lang po yung balikan ko lang po yung nabanggit niyo na
Okay. Go ahead, Robin. Okay, go ahead.
No, balikan ko lang po yung nabanggit niya na on the one hand, yung hesitancy, and on the other hand, your information campaign. What are you finding is the cause behind the hesitancy? Is it specific to Chinese vaccines? Is it specific to certain brands? Or is it a hesitancy to vaccination in general? And what is behind the hesitation and the concern of people you're finding?
Well, based on just the rudimentary interviews that I have conducted, and just by talking to people, again, not in a scientific manner, the Dimvaksha incident is one cause for concern amongst the people, and then second is specific to the Chinese vaccine, which I actually. I do not want to hazard a guess as to the reason, but they have a certain bias against that, and so these are the things that we have to combat and to conquer these fears if we are going to be successful with vaccinating 80% of our population. And I think that this is half the battle, basically, because if people are willing to be vaccinated, then they will voluntarily go to the different vaccine centers, and they don't need to be convinced. But at this stage, I believe they do have to be convinced, and therefore part of our job is to create very good communications plans to be able to convince the people.
Mayor, what is the situation now in regard to COVID in Quezon City, especially given that you might be able to get hold of a vaccine in the middle of the year yet? How will you be addressing a possible surge, which is what is being feared now?
Yeah, so actually, Luchi, this is something that we all, mayors of the NCR, have been preparing for since the early part of December, because it was already predicted by Octa Research, who we work with, by the way. They are the consultants of the Quezon City government, many of them being based at the University of the Philippines. They did predict a surge. In November and October, our numbers were very, very low. Actually, they reached below 500. That seems high, but it's actually quite low in a city as big as Quezon City. No, and given the numbers that we came from, which was in the thousands. Okay, so but then when December started, the numbers started going higher and higher, and so we've been preparing ever since that time. No, in the beginning it was about prevention, so it would be about convincing the people, the usual practice, health standards, celebrate in small groups, don't have family reunions, etc. But lately, during the middle of the year, we saw that was not working. No? People were celebrating, people were going to reunions, people were drinking, people were doing the things that they were not supposed to be doing. And so our strategy shifted to one of preparedness. No? So what we did was we ramped up testing, and we are ramping up testing even until now. Our contact tracing has improved to 30 traced to one positive person, and I think that's quite good. And then we have also prepared our quarantine facilities. At the moment, we have about 1,000. We have about 96 facilities in the barangay level, and another 5 facilities in the city level, amounting to about 2,000 beds already. Our hospitals are ready. The surge has not yet come, but I believe it's because the data is artificial. I say it's artificial because all of the laboratories were closed over the holidays. So the data that we're getting are probably not reflective of the truth. So we will really only know the truth by probably the middle part of January. And
so in case of a surge, Mayor, would you be willing, would it be possible to impose tighter restrictions? Siguro not naman like ECQ, but tighter restrictions. Would that be possible citywide?
Well, citywide, what we have decided to do here is not to lock down a city per se, because it's just too big. Our city is huge. It's 1/4 of Metro Manila. So what we have been doing is observing for clustering. No? So when there are clusterings, that is indicative of community transmission. And when there is community transmission, that means that it's time to lock down that particular community. Now, I don't mean a barangay, because our barangays are also quite huge. We have barangays with about 200,000 people in them. No? So we're talking about puroks, we're talking about esquinitas, streets, compounds, just locking them down. And then while we lock them down, we test everyone right away with the gold standard PCR tests. And after the results come out, which are very quick now because we have our own laboratory, well, we can lift the lockdown right away and then move the positive patients to our quarantine facilities. But I think locking down a whole city is out of the question. It will really affect our economy. But implementing these localized lockdowns, granular lockdowns, will continue to be our strategy. We started that here, and it has proven to be very successful. Now, in terms of restrictions, restrictions are usually imposed by the IATF at an NCR level, a regional level. But what we can actually do is just improve on our enforcement and improve in our monitoring and surveillance of establishments as well as of communities. No? And that's what we're doing now. I've increased the number of enforcers here in Quezon City, and I've increased the number of monitoring teams that go around the malls and other commercial establishments in our city. And so far, we have not been afraid to close down establishments that have not been following our health protocols.
Mayor, precisely because Quezon City has the biggest population, also in terms of land area, napakalaki ng Quezon City, is logistics and delivery of the vaccine a bigger concern for you relative to all the other cities? Yesterday, we were talking to Makati Mayor Binay and Mayor Chanco of Navotas, and they were both saying, look, one thing is at least, obviously, Navotas is much, much smaller. Makati is closer to the port, so it's smaller also. Mas madaling abutin ng mga barangay. Is logistics, therefore, and this cold chain storage concerns and everything, is that a higher concern for Quezon City relative to all the other GOs?
Yes, definitely, Robbie. I believe that it is going to be very challenging here in Quezon City. First, because of the size, but second, also because of the manpower requirements of vaccinating 80% of more than 3 million people. That's going to be very difficult because that requires about 300 doctors and nurses. And at the moment, I think all of the doctors and nurses are already overworked, and we don't have that many. So that's a major problem, manpower. Cold storage, yes, although we are in talks already with the possible partners for that. Point-to-point transportation in refrigerated vans, that's another problem. And the problems go on and on. And one of the main problems that I will try to solve within the first 2 months of this year is the database. No? Because as you know, the World Health Organization as well as the Department of Health have very strictly said that we have to prioritize certain sectors. And these include the senior citizens, this include those with comorbidities, the persons with disabilities, frontliners, of course, uniformed personnel, essential workers, etc. No, these have to be prioritized. And the last census we've had in Quezon City was years ago. So I'm not even, I'm quite certain that the current data is not the data that is reflective of the truth. No? So, and we saw that when we distributed SAP and our other ayudas, that yung figures namin dito sa database, hindi na yun ang totoo. No? So I'm intending to start a ID system. It's similar to the national ID system that the national government is going to roll out, but I want to roll out one just for Quezon City. It will be connected to the online, so it will be digital, and the IDs will be able to identify all of the different citizens in our country and in our city, and hopefully color coded yan. So pag senior ka, red ang card mo, pag regular working individual ka, ito yung color ng card mo, etc. Para mas madali para sa atin, matrack yung mga kailangan natin bigyan ng hindi lang bakuna, pero in the future, if we have to give additional services, additional benefits to our residents, mas madali siya because there is a single identifiable number assigned to a person which is attached to our database. No? And then we can keep track of our people and make sure that resources of the city are also spread out equally. Hindi lang iisang tao ang nakakatanggap na lahat ng ayuda o lahat ng benepisyo just because we have no monitoring tool. So I hope this ID will help, and this vaccine will be the first service that we will roll out using this ID. So it's quite an ambitious program of mine, but we thought about it for the past year, and we're ready to roll out by this month actually. So hopefully it will be successful.
Okay, Mayor Joy, if you don't mind, we just need to go into a quick break. We hope you can stay with us for a few more questions when we come back.
All right. Thank you.
Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte. Mayor Belmonte, thank you for staying with us.
Happy to be here again.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, well, some LGUs have reported problems with the smuggled vaccines or unauthorized vaccines being applied or distributed and applied in some areas. For example, Manila, si Mayor Escobreno has raised the alarm over reports of smuggled and unauthorized.
Here, I have not experienced any reports of smuggled vaccines yet as of now. And gratefully.
Mukhang marami kasi sa Pogo areas eh. I suppose sa Quezon City wala masyadong Pogos.
Wala, because in the start hindi na kami interesado sa Pogos. So hindi masyadong marami yung naitayo dito, at yung mga naitayo dito na mga 2-3 lang na umalis na rin naman sila nung nag-ECQ tayo.
Okay, ma'am, moving forward po, what would you say would be the biggest takeaways from 2020 as far as you're concerned that you think you should apply for 2021 looking forward?
Well, 2020 was an unusual year, I think. And I think the worst thing that happened to me is really all of the social media attacks on me. And so my New Year's resolution is actually not to engage with social media. So I have deactivated my social media account, and I decided to just concentrate on my job. And I'm also aware of the preponderance of fake news and that social media. Somebody once told me social media is actually the most toxic. It has its benefit, of course, but it's very toxic also when used in the wrong way. And I've seen that happen because I lost several frontliners who were so affected by the bashing during ECQ when they were not receiving their food packs on time, etc. And I decided, it's not worth it. Let's just concentrate on our jobs. And now I've continued. That was something I started doing in 2020, and I will continue to do in 2021. And hopefully, given this more challenging task of distributing vaccines to this many people, to 2.8 billion people, I think that there will be a lot of negative comments. But again, I want to just concentrate on the goal and the finish line and get the job done and make sure that people are safe and healthy here in Quezon City, and that the economy gets back on track.
All right.
Okay. Well, maraming salamat po, Mayor Joy Belmonte. Thank you for joining us in The Chief, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much,
Salamat po.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes.
Okay, our next guest for tonight is in relation to, well, the topic that we introduced earlier in the show. It has to do with the death of the flight attendant from the Philippine Airlines, si Christine Dacera. So joining us tonight is Brigadier General Vicente Danao Jr., the Chief of the National Capital Region Police Office, NCRPO. General Danao, thank you po for joining us, and welcome to the Chiefs.
Yes.
Good evening, General.
Good evening, sir.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, sir, there's been a lot of talk in the last few hours, dun sa whether or not it's case solved or case closed. So it's in a way a matter of semantics. But I'd like to go a bit further back to something even more basic. Are we already even clear as to what case it is? I understand kasi the case being filed is homicide with rape, but have we really established homicide and as well rape?
As far as I'm concerned, personally, I would rather say it na hindi pa po natin naklaro talaga kung ano yung case filed natin dyan. Kasi unang-una, I would rather say it na siguro, case cleared lang for the meantime. Kasi unang-una, we do not even know kung sino po yung nakapatay doon sa mismong tao, if ever man na pinatay.
Or kung pinatay siya. Opo.
Yes, opo. And hindi pa rin po, there's no conclusive evidence as of now whether she died, for what reason. So wala pa pong klaro talaga kung pinatay ba siya, sinakal ba siya through stag, or baka naman may ininom o may pinainom, or was she conclusively raped as what they allege. Pero sa ngayon po kasi, the cause of death ay hindi pa po natin ma-determine hanggat hindi pa po nare-receive yung final report coming from the medico legal, no? So sa ngayon kasi ang initial results lang ng medical legal is yung mga abrasions lang. Tapos sabi nga nila, ang cause of death is yung sinatawag na aneurysm.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what triggered that aneurysm? Yun ang tanong. Kasi
General,
if you will- Yes, sir.
hindi, sige pa. Sorry po. Ituloy niyo po.
Yes, sir. If you will try to look at the crime scene po kasi, there are about 5. Mababa na po yung 5 alak na makikita ron of different label. Okay? 1 is whiskey, 1 is tequila, vodka, rum. So, kung lahat po yun na iinumin nyo of different brands, doon pa lang sa liquor na ininom natin, definitely, mahihilo ka ng gusto. You will be totally intoxicated. Doon na mismo sa alak pa lang yan, ha? How about kung meron siyang nainom o meron siyang ipinainom sa kanya unknowingly na nainom niya? Okay, so yun po yung ating fina-find out ngayon. That could have been the reason na she suffered. She suffered the very unfaithful incident, no? So yun po yung mga hangga't wala po yung results na yan, hindi pa po natin masasabi na she died of homicide or she died of sexual abuse. Kasi sabi nila, meron din daw semen. Okay, doon sa babae. Ito ang tanong ngayon, sino sa 11 o sino sa 10 ang gumalaw? Okay, so wala pa po talagang conclusive evidence pointing to the suspects kung sino po sa kanila ang talagang involved.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sir, that's assuming po that even if semen was found, that's assuming that that came from one of those 11 and not from a prior contact before she went to the party. But what I'm trying to ask po is this: have we already established that there is malice in her death?
Ang tinitingnan po namin kasi ngayon is we're still looking on the accounts of we're still backtracking on the CCTVs. Kasi if you will try to look at the CCTVs, yung nakita ko initially, ako mismo na nakakita, yun pong kasing si Christine, may kita mo talagang she's groggy na at that moment she's from into the 2 rooms, no? So balik-balik siya sa 2 room na yon and medyo groggy, and wala naman kaming napansin so far na medyo masasabi mong very unruly yung mga tao ron. Okay? So, with respect naman doon sa mismong namatay po, doon sa nakita namin, siya ngayon medyo groggy doon na na nakita natin sa CCTV. So, sa ngayon, we're still digging deeper po doon sa case. Kung talaga po bang she was gangly raped na sinasabi nga nila, hindi pa po natin ma-establish na ngayon kung if she was really raped. Yes.
General, I think that your statements are clear enough na it's not yet clear. And all of these right now are just speculations and questions.
Yes,
I just want to go back to a basic question that Ed started off on. So ano po ba talaga yung status? Because a lot of people have been reacting to statements, declarations being attributed to the police that one case closed, case solved, and so on. The police have been referring to these people as suspects, and there are references to charges of rape and homicide charges. But what we're hearing from you is, ang layo-layo pa natin doon. So I just want to be clear. Are there charges, or do we go by your statement that actually we're still investigating?
Ganito po yan. Yun po kasi yung case po ay final na po ng ating Makati City Police Station. Okay? But meron pa pong mga lacking requirements doon. So, pag yung pong lacking requirements yan, katulad po ng result of death or the cause of death, what would be the cause of death? Katulad yan. So, there's no conclusive evidence there na masasabi natin sino ang nang-rape doon. Ano ang cause of death niya? Is it strangulation? Tinabunan ba siya ng unan? Kung yun po yung result of death, katulad niyan, yung kanyang toxicology, pag hindi pa po ma-report yan within the period of time, baka ma-RFI po yung kaso. Referred for further investigation.
So,
General, bakit po paano nakapag-file ng kaso kung wala pa palang finding na ng foul play? Hindi, sabi nga ninyo, hindi pa natin alam kung ito ay homicide o ito ay rape, pero nakapag-file ng kaso.
May description nga kayo, yung provisional filing. Ngayon lang ako nakarinig ng provisional filing of charges. Ano ba yung implication nun? Doon sa tatlong finailan ng kaso, ano yung provisional filing of charges? Ano exactly yun? Ang impact nun, it means ba you can arrest them, not place them under arrest? Anong status nung tatlong yon? At saka anong status nung ibang hinahanap? Kasi nag-press con kanina yung anak ni nung mayor, si Mayor de la Fuente, na sabi niya, bakit wanted? Balita ko, wanted ako ngayon, wala naman akong ginagawa, ako ngayon nag-CPR doon and gano'n. Anong impact nun dun sa ibang nandun sa party? The provisional filing of charges.
Actually po, ma'am, wala naman po nasabing wanted sila. Sila lang po nagpalabas ng wanted sila actually. Ang sinasabi po namin doon, yun pong mga hindi po nag-present pa yung sarili nila doon, ang sinasabi po namin dyan, kung wala naman po kayong involvement or anything na nagawa ninyo doon sa case, bakit hindi po tayo lumabas? And to tell this story, yung side po ninyo, ilabas ninyo para malalaman po natin anong totoo. Hindi po ba? So, if you have nothing to hide, kumbaga, why hide? Anong dapat nating ikatakot? Para ilabas yung kwento.
Sir, if pwede po, yung tanong po ng mga tao is on the other side, particularly about the police. I mean, in the process for investigation. Ito na lang po, what is the proper way of approaching this? Kasi kagaya nga po ng sinabi nyo, there's no determination yet that there was foul play. A lot of the things that you mentioned are just speculation and circumstantial. Wala pang charges. Here you are saying that actually wala pang na-charge. But nakukonfuse yung mga tao because you're saying that, but notwithstanding that, the Makati Police already filed charges. Let's go back to something basic. Ano po ba dapat yung proseso before we ask people to come out and tell their stories? Ano ba dapat yung proseso? May natagpo ang patay, hindi pa po natin alam kung anong nangyari, and you're saying, pwede naman mag-file pagkatapos kung kulang, i-refer na lang for further investigation. Is that the usual way that the police investigates, or is it more proper to investigate first, determine the cause of death, wait for the autopsy, and then we start asking people questions?
Well, ganito po kasi yan. No? Kung ikaw po kasi yung investigador, ang usually po na persons of interest po ninyo, yung pinakalas po na nakasama nila. So, tama lang po na tanungin natin sila what happened on that day. Okay? So, kung wala ka naman pong itatago dyan, bakit naman po ayaw natin lumabas para sabihin natin yung kwento, what happened on that day. Okay? Kasi yun po yung backtracking natin sa case. So, kung sino po yung pinakalas na kasama, automatic yan po yung magiging persons of interest. Hindi ko po sinasabing suspects, persons of interest. Okay? Now, yung pong nangyari doon kasi, since yung evidence at hand is meron mga bruises, as alleged lang naman po, no? And may sinasabing may semen as alleged. Okay? So, ang ginawa po ng police with the evidence at hand, i-file lang po yung kaso. Okay? Pero kung ako po ang sasabihin ninyo dyan na talagang nag-handle po ng case personally, tama po yung sinasabi ninyo na dapat po talaga hintayin lahat yung results na yon. Kaya nga po sabi nga natin, hanggat wala po yung mga results na yon, definitely, baka ma-RFI po yung kasong yan. Kasi po, it will take days po yun. It will take days po yun, sir, bago po lalabas yan. Yung mga case ng katulad po ng mga results ng mga lab test, katulad po ng toxicology, ano po yung most probable na naging yan. Kasi ang nakita lang po naman kasi na abrasions is nandoon sa nandoon sa mga legs, what could be the cause of those abrasions. So yun po yung yun po yung doon, sir, sa reasons.
General, pag-usapan po natin general yung mga abrasions. Marami pa po kami tanong, but we'll just pause for break. Please stay with us.
Okay. Okay po.
At don't go away. The chiefs will be back.
And welcome back to the Chiefs. And we are now in the final stage of our conversation with Brigadier General Danao on the death of Christine Dacera. General, yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, sir. Sir, I
Yes, ma'am.
think part of the confusion is arising from the, let's just say, disposition and statements of the Makati police chief, because based on media interviews with him, he seems to be very, very definite about where this case should go. He has defended ferociously why a case of homicide with rape has been filed, and as a result of which he has also actually named all those with Christine that night as suspects at large. And as a result of which a bounty has actually been placed over the heads of people. No? So I guess my question to you is, in a case as sensational as that, do we get our information from just the Makati Police Chief, even though, even by your reckoning, there are some questions that seem to us to be unresolved?
Yes, ma'am. I really had to admit, ma'am, no, that the filing of the case is too early and hindi po napag-aralan ng maayos yung filing of the case. No? Unang-una, hindi pa po na-establish diyan kung sino talaga ang culprit Ano? Sabihin na lang po natin na may pumatay. Ang tanong is, sino? Hindi pa po na-establish yun. Unless otherwise, kung may lalabas...
Sorry, I'm sorry. Let me backtrack because I think it's a crucial point. You're saying hindi pa malinaw kung sino ang pumatay. But are you saying that you are proceeding from the premise na merong pumatay?
Hindi. Ang sabi ko po is sakaling may pumatay. Sino ang
Okay,
pumatay?
so even the question of whether or not may pumatay is still unresolved.
Yes, tama po kayo. Tama po kayo.
Okay.
Okay, so ibig sabihin, kung sakaling may pumatay man, ang tanong is sino? So wala. Wala doon sa 11. Hindi may turo. Kasi unang-una, there are no witnesses. Okay? And then there are no other evidences or conclusive evidence na magtuturo na meron doon sa 11. That is one. Okay? Number 2, sabi nila is may nang rape. Ang tanong is sino doon? Okay? Sabi nga nila may semen daw. Ang tanong din is sino doon? Sa 11 ang nang-rape. Again, hindi rin natin ma-conclude kung sino doon. At saka yung result of death po kasi sa ngayon, sabi nga nila is aneurysm. So the result of toxicology is very important. Kasi para sa akin po, no, I've been in the service po for almost 30 years na, and it is not the first time po na nakasolve tayo ng mga ganitong klaseng cases. Okay, unless otherwise, kung meron tayong hawak na witness talaga on the crime scene at itinuturong itong si Mr. A, Mr. B, o Mr. 3, 4, 5, 6 hanggang 10, eh nakita ko mismo. I am the eyewitness, nakita ko personally, and I have a personal knowledge na ito ang pumatay. Yan, pwede yun, yung mga statement na yun. Pero in the absence of which, definitely, there's no conclusive evidence that somebody killed her. Okay, kaya sabi ko nga po, actually po, I have to be very frank sa inyo, Ma'am Sir. Kausap ko po kanina po kasi yung hepe, and sabi ko, bakit parang napakaaga po yata? Parang napakaaga yata ng filing ng case nyo. And tama po yung sabi ninyo, Ma'am Sir, na sa ngayon, hindi pa natin na-establish. Kaya nga sabi ko, dapat, inano nyo na mabuti, pinag-aralan na mabuti yung filing of the case.
Sir, ano pong
Okay.
sagot sa inyo? If I may ask, ano pong sinagot sa inyo nung tinanong nyo po yung hepe ng Makati, bakit napaaga yata or napabilis yata or namadali yata? Ano pong sinagot sa inyo?
Eh siguro po dahil lang dun sa eagerness niya na mag-file talaga ng case, pero sabi ko dapat hindi gano'n ang handling ng mga sensationalized cases na katulad nito. Katulad niyan, baka mamaya sa sobrang inunang nila because there are 7. Sabi ko nga, kung di ako magkamali, at least 5. Eh kung tayo nga, yung simpleng beer nga lang, nalalasing na tayo, yung pa kayang 7 different brands of liquor, medyo nakaka-intoxicate po yun. O kaya baka mamaya, sabi nga nila, kaya nga po kailangan namin imbestigahan further, kasi meron pong isa doon na nagsabi, ang sabi po niya, before po namatay si Tintin, sabi niya, Brad, parang may pinainom si ganito sa akin. So yun po isang tinitingnan namin anggulo. Kaya nga po, sinasabi ko kanina, okay, kung sino man yung taong yun, I will not mention names, ano? Kung sino ka man, alam mo kung sino ka, kung wala ka namang kinalaman dyan, why not present yourself to the authorities and clear your name?
General,
Sir, we certainly appreciate your candidness. Pero sir, kasi may impact po kasi yung final na kaso ng Makati Police at yung mga statements sa Makati Police doon din po sa yung tatlong sinumpa ng kaso at doon sa ibang hinahanap pa. Malaki po yung impact sa kanila kung ano man ang sabihin ng Makati Police. Kaya po itong mga tanong na ito.
Yes, opo sir. Definitely, I feel the same way po sa mga taong yan. Ano? Kaya nga po sabi ko kanina, in the absence of further evidences that would conclude or indict them in the case of homicide with rape na sinasabi, definitely, ako na po nagsasabi, this case will be referred for further investigation.
Sir, meron pong lumabas na papel yung kumado ni Dr. Michael Sarmiento na medical legal officer. Ito po ba yung autopsy report o ito po yung initial medical legal?
Actually po, ang pagkaalam ko, sandali po, sir, Ang
Okay,
pagkala ko po,
Dr. Michael Sarmiento, Police Major Medical Legal Officer.
yes, opo.
Ito na po yung autopsy, hindi pa?
Hindi pa po. This is just the
The initial.
initial report. Yes,
Okay,
opo,
okay.
opo.
Okay.
Okay, so nakalagay nga po rito, purpose of laboratory examination is still to determine the cause of death, ano? Pero as of now is there's a ruptured aortic aneurysm.
Mm.
Okay, ang tanong po yan is what caused that aneurysm? Okay, so yun po.
Meron
Baka-
kayong case na may case kayo na rape. Magdi-DNA testing din ba kayo? Kasi sabi ng pamilya ng victim, magpapakondak sila ng sarili na lang autopsy. Magkakaroon pa ba kayo ng ganong klaseng testing for rape? Kasi sabi niyo meron daw semen doon. Sino ba nagsabi doon na ni-rape? Saka sino yung are you going to conduct a DNA test?
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm sorry po, hindi ko po naintindihan.
Kasi sabi nyo, rape with homicide yung case That's a provisional case for rape with homicide. So magte-testing pa ba kayo ng semen for DNA test? Kasi sabi ng pamilya ng victim, ipapa-autopsy daw nila independent autopsy. So okay din ba sa inyo yun na may independent autopsy? At saka nagdi-DNA testing ba kayo ng semen kung meron man?
Ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong. Sa pagkaintindi ko po sa question nyo, is kung okay po bang mag-autopsy at saka okay po bang mag-DNA. Tama po ba, ma'am?
Nagdi-DNA testing na ba kayo?
Kasi po, ma'am, hindi ko masyado pong narinig, ma'am.
Okay.
At
Opo.
tinatanong po niya, malinaw po ba sa akin, ang tinatanong po ni Ami
Yes,
is
sir,
kung nag-umpisa na po ba ang DNA testing?
Actually, sinabihan ko po yung hepe kanina na isa yan sa gagawin yung DNA testing. Okay? Sabi ko nga sa kanila, tingnan ninyo kung kanin yung i-request yung DNA testing ng both sides. Yung sinasabi nilang inakasuhan at saka yung mismong biktima po. So kung ano man yung makukuhang specimen doon na it could jibe to one of the most probable persons of interest, then yun po siguro isang titignan natin. However, meron din po rights itong mga to na definitely baka hindi papayag sila na madi-DNA yan sila, definitely. So yun po yung isang mga tinitignan natin. Pero on the account po ng sabi ni ma'am na regarding po doon sa independent autopsy, actually in-encourage po namin, ma'am, na magkaroon po ng independent autopsy para once and for all, wala pong whitewash, wala pong ano. Mas maganda nga po kung gano'n para magkaroon po ng linaw lalo yung kaso on the cause of death.
And that's the right.
Ano pong implication or consequence or administrative implication kung mali po yung case na final ng Makati Police?
Titignan po namin, ma'am. Siguro, ako po, ang sa akin lang is because of the eagerness lang po na i-file yung case. Pero, kung meron po kaming makikita, ma'am, lalo-lalo na ako po as the regional director, kung meron po kaming makikita ron na administrative lapses, lalong-lalo na because hindi na-follow yung ating mga police operational procedure on how to really investigate the case, then we will file later on kung ano po makikita natin na lapses po ng police. Opo.
Okay. In the meantime, General, notwithstanding, as you said, your candidness, your candor about the lapses, in the meantime, nakahain na po yan, may case na po sa Makati Police. You still, notwithstanding any lapses or gaps, the whole thing still proceeds from the case having been filed. In other words, may kaso. Yan pa rin diyan pa rin mag-uumpisa at tutuloy.
Yes po, sir. Bali, ang sa amin po dyan, kung meron po tayong makukuha additional evidences, additional documents, or additional supplemental affidavits, or kung meron po tayong ilalagay ng mga witnesses, so diretso po yan. Pero in the absence of which, pag nag-decide po yung fiscal na i-RFI po yun dahil kulang po yung ebidensya, wala po tayong magagawa doon, kundi mag-investigate further. Kundi liman pa po yung investigation para malaman po natin ano talaga yung cause of death. Ngayon, it will turn out later na wala naman palang kinalaman, yung 10 po ba yan, o 11 na tao, di mas maganda po, at least wala po tayong problema. Pero ako, I would highly encourage them na kung wala naman po talaga, siguro, come out in the open para marinig natin yung kwento nyo. Para kung wala naman po tayong tinatago, di bakit tayo? Mas maganda po, ilabas natin. Nandito kami, ito kami, tulog kami, o lasing kami, uminom kami ng ganito, mga gano'n. So wala po kaming makikitang problema nun. Kasi dapat naman po na pag nandyan na yan, mas maganda nga po nga kasi wala naman silang warrant. Sa totoo lang, wala pa warrant eh. Wala pa naman pong, final lang yung case, pero it doesn't mean na ikukulong ka na wanted ka na, no. Pag nakita po ng fiscal yan, nakita ng court, and they will decide later on that there is a probable cause, saka lalabas ang warrant. Pero pag walang makita, definitely that will be RFI, referred for further investigation.
Alright.
So wala pa tayong way doon, ma'am sir. Wala pa tayong problema.
Hindi pa siya solved.
Ako, ma'am sir, sa totoo lang, sa tagal kong nag-iimbestiga, I would consider it unresolved pa talaga.
Unresolved. Okay. It's unresolved.
Unresolved.
Yeah. Pasensya na po kayo. Pasensya.
Okay, maraming salamat po. General Vicente Danao Jr., Hepe po ng NCRPO. General, maraming salamat for joining us tonight.
Thank you,
Maraming salamat po.
Mabuhay po kayo. Salamat po.
I suppose, yung final lang siguro is complaint, hindi pa yung case.
Provisional.
Kasi yung charges should be filed by the
Kaya
fiscal.
sinabi nila solve na eh. Kasi may case na.
Ang problema is the declaration from the police.
Kasi minsan nagkakaproblema sa pag-iimay ng terminology eh. Complaint versus case or charges.
Pero kasama premature eh. Premature filing eh.
I mean, malinaw dito kay General Danao, di ba? Parang talagang he said it na
may case.
I mean, all of this is
yung anak ni Claire de la Fuente umiiyak na. Kaya nga ganun.
all of this is notwithstanding without prejudice to one clear fact. None of us know what happened. But in the meantime, I think one of the concerns of people is yung nalilihis yung attention ng mga tao sa pulis eh. 'Di ba? Because people are asking, paano ba mag-imbestiga dapat ang pulis?
NCRPO chief na yan, case unresolved. Kanya.
Okay, at least na-resolve ba natin itong isyong ito?
Okay.
No, but it's unresolved. That it is unresolved.
Hereby resolved that the case is unresolved. Okay.
Okay, Tuesday pa lang. That will be all for this Tuesday edition of the Chiefs. We hope to discuss it. We'll keep the conversation going. I'm Adling of One News.
I'm Mami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Robbie Alampay and we are One News.